All right, today we're going to dive into a hidden force that's pretty much dictating your productivity, your creativity, even your mood. It's called your chronotype. It's your brain's own personal, hardwired clock. And, understanding it isn't just some life hack, it could be the key to totally rethinking the way we all work. So, have you ever felt like you're just fighting against the clock? Like you're dragging yourself through those morning meetings, only to find your best ideas pop into your head late in the afternoon? Or hey, maybe you're the exact opposite. You're sharp as a tack at 9 a.m., but you hit a total wall by 3 p.m. That feeling, it isn't a lack of discipline, it's a fundamental mismatch.
And this is really the core of the problem, isn't it? The classic 9 to 5 is built on this old assumption that one size fits all. But, well, neuroscience tells a very different story. Our brains are not all optimized at the same time throughout the day. And by ignoring this biological reality, we're basically leaving breakthrough ideas on the table.
So, what's the actual science behind this whole mismatch? Well, it all comes down to one single, really powerful concept: your chronotype. Let's unpack what that really means for how your brain is wired. And let's be super clear here. Your chronotype is not just a preference for mornings or evenings. It's a deeply ingrained biological system, something shaped by your genetics in your age. It dictates the entire rhythm of your day, when you think most clearly, when you hit that inevitable slump, and most importantly, when you are absolutely primed for those creative breakthroughs. So our daily energy is kind of a constant dance between these two forces. First, you've got what's called sleep pressure. Pretty simple, the longer you're awake, the sleepier you get. But that's always interacting with your circadian rhythm, which is your brain's own 24-hour clock that's sending out alertness signals. The way these two systems cross paths is what determines your personal peaks and troughs of energy. We love to simplify things into morning people and night owls, but the reality is just so much more nuanced. Chronotype is a spectrum. While yeah, you have super larks on one end and super owls on the other, most of us are what scientists call intermediate types, falling somewhere in between. So how do we know all this stuff? Let's look at the evidence, because it's pretty compelling. A big collaboration between the Wharton Neuroscience Initiative and the consulting firm Slalom actually put this whole idea to the test in a real-world setting. This quote here from Elizabeth Johnson just frames the issue perfectly. Think about it. We optimize for everything: talent, tech, strategy, but we almost completely ignore timing. This study aimed to uncover that hidden variable. So, to measure performance, the researchers used a classic creativity test. It's called the alternative uses task. Participants were given an everyday object, like a brick, and were asked to come up with as many creative uses as they could. Their answers were then scored on the number of ideas, the variety, the uniqueness, and the level of detail. So what did they find? Well, the results for the morning types, the larks, were just dramatic. When they did the creativity test at 10 a.m., which was their biological peak, their performance just soared. They came up with more ideas, more original ideas, just plain better ideas across the board, compared to when they took the exact same test at 4 in the afternoon. And for the evening owls, you guessed it, the exact opposite was true. Their creative peak hit at 4 p.m. This is what researchers call the synchrony effect, and it's probably the most important finding of all. It proves that performance isn't about working at a specific time of day, it's about working in sync with your brain's internal clock. But then the study uncovered something else, a really fascinating twist. Over a quarter of the participants were actually wrong about their own chronotype. Get this, 27% thought they were one type, but a validated scientific assessment, it's called the Morningness Eveningness Questionnaire, or MEQ, it revealed they were another. It just goes to show you we're not always the best judges of our own internal rhythms, probably because we've spent our whole lives trying to cram ourselves into a 9 to 5 box. Okay, so the science is crystal clear. The big question is, what can we actually do about it? How can teams and organizations use this information to work smarter? Let's look at an action plan. So the researchers laid out this really practical 4-step plan. It all starts with awareness, using that validated MEQ tool to get a real accurate picture of your team's rhythms, not just what they think they are. From there, you can actually design tasks to match those rhythms, use AI to help with scheduling, and even leverage generative AI as a partner during those unavoidable low-energy times. So what does this look like in practice? Well, it's all about task matching. You want to reserve your peak energy window for the really tough stuff. Analytical work, big decisions. Save the routine admin and email grind for your energy trough. And here's a little pro tip. That recovery period, when your brain is a little more relaxed and less focused, is often the perfect time for brainstorming and creative thinking. So the crucial point here is that this isn't just some wellness perk. Understanding chronotypes is a really powerful performance strategy, and it's a real competitive advantage for the future of work. This brings us to the big idea, the future of work. For decades, we've optimized systems and processes and technology. The next frontier is optimizing for the human brain itself. Like Michael Platt says here, this is how adaptability stops being a cultural buzzword and becomes a real structural advantage. And that really brings us to our final thought. As you go about your day, I want you to ask yourself this. Is my work schedule designed for the convenience of the clock on the wall, or is it actually designed to get the very best out of my brain? Because the answer to that question could unlock a new level of performance you never even thought was possible.